My stepmom made insane new house rules. Obey or get out, she demanded. I just laughed, then pointed out her name wasn't on the deed. Dad made her leave that weekend. My phone is still recovering from her raging texts. I, 20M, live with my dad, 50M, Liam. My mom passed away when I was younger, and Dad remarried about 3 years ago to Maeve, 40F. It's been fine? Like, okay most of the time. Maeve always liked things just so, a bit particular, but Dad's pretty easygoing and usually smoothed things over. We live in the house Dad owned with my mom. Mortgage paid off years before Maeve came along. That detail became pretty crucial, fast. So, last Tuesday night, things went sideways. Dad was working late. I was chilling in the living room playing some games online with mates. Maeve walks in, looking thunderous, holding a sheet of paper. Not laminated this time, just printer paper, but still radiating pure dictator vibes. Ronan, we need to talk about the new house expectations, she starts, her voice tight. I pause my game. Okay, what expectations? She reads off this list. And lads, it was pure madness. Common area curfew at 10:30 p.m. Lights off, quiet. Seriously? I'm 20. Overnight guests require 24-hour notice and Maeve's approval. My mates sometimes crash spontaneously. Kitchen cleanup immediately after use. No food prep after 9 p.m. RIP late-night toasties. Mandatory contribution to household running costs. $250 a month. I already cover my own phone, car, food, contribute to groceries sometimes, and help Dad with chores, DIY stuff. Personal belongings left in common areas subject to removal. My college bag by the door, my coat. Noise levels to be kept minimal after 9 p.m. So, headphones forever? It was just controlling nonsense. I genuinely thought she was winding me up at first. Maeve, are you serious? I asked, maybe smirking a bit because it sounded so over the top. That set her off. This is my home too, Ronan. I won't have you treating it like a student kip. Liam agrees we need more order. You either respect these rules or you need to reconsider living here. It's obey or get out. The smirk died fast. Her home? Obey or get out. The absolute cheek of it. Maeve, I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could because honestly, my heart was pounding a bit. First, Dad got home like an hour ago and went straight to his office. I highly doubt he co-signed this novel you've written. Second, this isn't your house. She started puffing up. Liam and I are married. This is our family home. You're married to Dad, yes, I said, standing up. Felt like I needed to be on her level. But this house belonged to Dad and my ma'am. It's legally his. Your name isn't on the deed. These rules are crazy, and you don't get to threaten to kick me out. She lost it. Started shouting about disrespect, how I was an ungrateful brat taking advantage, how she was the woman of the house and deserved respect. Classic deflection tactics. The noise brought Dad out. What is going on out here? Maeve immediately tried to play the victim, waving the paper. Liam, tell Ronan. He needs to follow the rules. He's being so disrespectful. Dad took the paper, read it, his brow furrowing deeper with each line. He looked from the paper to Maeve, then to me. His face was grim. Maeve, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Did you discuss these specific rules with me? Did I agree to you demanding $250 from Ronan or telling him obey or get out? Maeve faltered. Well, no, not the exact words, but we talked about needing more structure. You agreed. We talked about maybe asking Ronan to keep the hallway clearer, Maeve. That's it, Dad snapped back. This? This is a control manifesto, and threatening my son in his own home? Absolutely not. The argument exploded then. Proper shouting match. Maeve dug in, refusing to back down, insisting she was right. Dad got increasingly angry, saying her behavior was unacceptable, a total breach of trust. It wasn't an instant get out, but it was bad. Dad finally told her he couldn't even look at her right now, and that she needed to go stay with her sister Siobhan for a few days so they could both cool down and figure out where to go from here. Maeve stormed out, screaming about how we were ganging up on her, packed an overnight bag, slammed the door, and Dad heard her car peel out of the driveway. He looked utterly drained, just slumped onto the sofa and put his head in his hands. Didn't say much, just, "Need some space, Ronan." My phone started pinging almost instantly. Vicious texts from Maeve, accusations, insults, demands. Then calls I didn't answer. It felt heavy. Dad was obviously wrecked, and now Maeve was on the warpath. Not sure what happens next, but it doesn't feel good. Update 1. Right. Thanks again for the comments and DMs. Helped process the initial shock. It's been a rough couple of weeks since Maeve stormed out after the rules disaster. Dad initially thought maybe some space would help. Maybe she'd see sense. Nope. Dad tried calling Maeve the next day to arrange a proper talk. She either ignored his calls or answered just to yell. She refused to acknowledge the rules were unreasonable or that threatening me was wrong. Instead, she doubled down. We owed her an apology. She insisted she wouldn't come back until Dad put me in my line and agreed to her terms. Maybe slightly modified, but still controlling. The angry texts to me continued, but also got weirder. Mixed in with the usual "you ruined everything" stuff were demands for Dad to bring her things she needed immediately. Specific clothes, her preferred coffee brand, FFS. She also started calling Dad constantly at work. Maeve's sister, Siobhan, 50F, called Dad furious. Gave him an earful about abandoning Maeve. Dad tried to explain, calmly at first, about the rules and the ultimatum Maeve gave me. Siobhan wasn't having it, just parroted Maeve's version where I was the problem. Dad eventually lost his patience and told her to discuss it with Maeve, as her view was clearly skewed, and hung up. Siobhan then tried texting me. Same accusations. Manipulating Dad, being a spoiled brat. I showed Dad the texts. He told me to block her, so I did. Not engaging. This was petty, but revealing. Dad got an email alert about a potential change to his main bank account contact details. He logged in fast. Someone, using security answers Maeve would likely know, had tried, and failed, to change the recovery email and phone number to ones associated with Maeve. The bank's extra security layer stopped it, but it freaked Dad out. He spent an afternoon changing passwords and security questions on everything. Maeve denied it when he confronted her via text, but it was the final straw for him. Any lingering hope he had for reconciliation died right there. He realized the control wasn't just about house rules. After the bank account scare, Dad texted Maeve saying it was definitively over. He told her the trust was completely broken and he'd be contacting a solicitor to start divorce proceedings. He said communication from now on had to be about arranging for her to collect her belongings. It's been tense. Dad's stressed about the impending divorce stuff, obviously sad the marriage failed, but also visibly angry about the bank thing and Maeve's refusal to take any responsibility. I feel awful for him. Try to help out more around the house. Give him space when he needs it. The house is quiet, but not peaceful yet. More like the quiet before another storm. Maeve has agreed, demanded, to come get her stuff this Saturday. She insists Siobhan has to come with her. Dad agreed, but said I need to be here, and he's asked his friend Declan to be here too, just to keep things civil and witness. He's already changed the main locks. Feels like we're preparing for a siege. This divorce is going to be messy, isn't it? Update 2. Saturday's stuff collection day happened. It was about as pleasant as a root canal, maybe less. The entitlement was real, the tension was thick, and yeah, things got said. Maeve and Siobhan arrived spot on time. Maeve swept in like she was inspecting the place, barely acknowledging Dad or me. Siobhan hovered behind her, arms crossed, radiating disapproval. Declan, Dad's mate, was already there, parked awkwardly in the kitchen nursing a mug of tea, trying to look casual. Dad laid out the ground rules. Maeve could take her clothes, toiletries, personal items she owned before marrying him, and specific gifts given only to her. Anything joint, anything part of the house setup, or anything belonging to Dad or me stayed until solicitors sorted the financials. Maeve started packing her stuff from the bedroom, mostly clothes, shoes. But then the arguments started. She tried to claim a painting Dad bought years ago. My mom loved it. Dad shut that down hard. Leave it, Maeve. She argued over kitchenware, claiming stuff was hers when Dad had receipts showing otherwise. Lots of sighing and eye-rolling from her. She demanded jewelry. Not my mam's this time, thank God, but pieces Dad had bought during the marriage. Dad said those were joint assets to be discussed via solicitors. Maeve actually grabbed a couple of smaller items, a necklace, some earrings, and shoved them in her bag defiantly, while Dad was distracted by Siobhan asking where the good towels were. Seriously? Dad clocked it later, but decided it wasn't worth the fight right then. He'd list them for the solicitor. Petty win for her, I guess. Siobhan mostly stayed quiet initially, just helping Maeve pack boxes, but kept giving Dad and me dirty looks. Things came to a head when Maeve started insisting she take the fancy coffee machine, the one Dad got for his 50th from his work colleagues. Dad refused point blank. Maeve started getting loud, claiming she used it more, practically calling Dad selfish. Siobhan jumped in then, defending Maeve, telling Dad to stop being so bloody difficult and show some compassion. That's when I stepped in. I couldn't stand Siobhan's self-righteous act, knowing what Maeve had been texting. No dramatic airdrop this time. I walked over to Siobhan while Maeve and Dad were arguing about the coffee machine. "Siobhan," I said, keeping my voice low but firm. "You think this is about a coffee machine? You think Maeve is just some poor victim here?" She scoffed. "I know my sister, and I know how you've undermined her." "Right," I said. I pulled out my phone and opened the texts from Maeve, the really nasty ones, the threats against Dad, veiled but clear, the vile names she called me, the ones where she talked about needing to lay down the law because I was out of control. I held the phone so only Siobhan could see the screen. "Read these. This is your sister when she thinks no one's listening. This is why Dad's had enough. This is the respect she showed us." Siobhan's eyes scanned the screen. Her face didn't crumble like in a movie, but the color drained slightly. The aggressive certainty flickered. She didn't say anything immediately, just slowly looked from my phone to Maeve, still arguing with Dad, then back to the phone. She didn't challenge me, didn't call me a liar. She just went quiet. Her whole posture seemed to deflate a bit. She didn't help Maeve argue anymore. When Maeve tried to enlist her support again, "Siobhan, tell him!" Siobhan just mumbled something about needing to take a box to the car and walked out. She still helped load the car, but the fire was gone. She wouldn't really look Maeve, Dad, or me in the eye afterwards. Maeve eventually gave up on the coffee machine, but was fuming. They loaded the car in near silence, Maeve shooting poisoned darts with her eyes at me and Dad. They left without another word. Dad and Declan checked around. Besides the jewelry Maeve pocketed and maybe some random household bits, fancy soaps, a throw blanket Dad liked. Nothing major seemed missing. No ring theft this time, thankfully. The bank account attempt was her big overreach. Dad finally managed to get Maeve's solicitor details from her later via text. Everything goes through them now. He blocked Maeve's number. I kept Siobhan blocked. We haven't heard a peep directly since Saturday. Dad's solicitor is handling everything. The relief in the house is massive. It's not happy families. Dad's still processing the end of his marriage and bracing for the divorce details. But the day-to-day toxicity is gone. We had a big Sunday roast yesterday, first proper relaxed meal in ages. Talked about football, college, anything but Maeve. Showing Siobhan those texts wasn't about winning. It was about puncturing the bubble of BS Maeve had built around herself. Maybe making one of her key supporters realize this wasn't just Dad and me being unreasonable. Siobhan didn't apologize or switch sides dramatically, but Maeve lost her enthusiastic cheerleader in that moment, and I think she knew it. That felt like real consequence. Maeve made her choices with those rules and her behavior. Now she has to deal with the fallout. A divorce, a fractured relationship with her sister, probably, and finding a new place to live that isn't funded by my dad. Feels like the natural consequence of her own actions. Hopefully, this is the last update. Time to move on. Thanks for reading along, folks.